Hello again, everyone. For those who are joining on the YouTube channel, this is another segment brought to you by the Tetra Society on our Connect Together platform. And we are continuing our virtual series of spotlighting different Tetra chapters. And today we're going to speak with Cooper Lawrence, an Ottawa volunteer, a volunteer with the Ottawa Tetra chapter. And Cooper is a volunteer not only of the Ottawa chapter, but he is an engineering student and is part of the student club at Ottawa University. Good morning, Cooper.
Hello, good morning.
So thank you for doing this. And again, we are highlighting different chapters throughout Tetra. And for those who might not know myself, I'm Eric Mollendijk, the national coordinator of the Tetra Society. So, and again, thanks, Cooper. Now, the Ottawa chapter has been quite active for a long time, and students have always played a huge role. Our current chapter coordinator, Zara, used to be a student volunteer herself, and now she's the coordinator of the chapter. And I just, having student chapters and students involved, that's our next generation of volunteers and engineers. And so I'd love to hear how you became involved with Tetra, Cooper.
Well, myself, as an engineering student at the University of Ottawa, had the privilege of taking some of our engineering design classes that we offer. And one of them in particular specifically focuses on assistive technology. So all of the clients that students actually get to work with are individuals with disabilities here in the Ottawa region. And through taking that class kind of opened me up to the world, not just of Tetra, but assistive technology in general.
Okay, and so that's kind of how so that course kind of helped introduce you to Tetra. What drew you to engineering as a field of study when you were going to university? Have you always been a problem solver? What made you think that engineering was something you wanted to take as a career?
Well, I've always been, a bit of a tinkerer, kind of a hands-on kind of person. In high school, I really had some teachers that fostered the idea of, pursuing not necessarily engineering, but just the STEM field in general. Programming, building things, stuff like that. So I figured engineering was kind of the best way to get a bit of everything.
For sure. Now, you commented on something there about taking this course and you interact with students. So just kind of explain for those who don't know, because that's a very unique scenario. How does that work? Where is it part of the curriculum? Students with disabilities at the University of Ottawa are encouraged to send in requests to the students to work on. How does that work?
Yeah, so all year long, we work hard to try and find either students on campus that we could help do projects for, or individuals in our community. We even source a good amount of projects from the Ottawa Tetra chapter. And after we've compiled a good list of projects, we present them to students. Right now, it's just an elective course, so we don't have everyone in engineering taking this course, but we have a decent number of people that get exposed, and they get to make their own groups, 3-4 people, collaborate together on a project that they've chosen. So we actually go out, we meet with the clients, we see any challenges they may be facing, and try and come up with novel solutions for them.
And you said you do get to choose.
Yeah. So typically we try and give students the option of, top 2 or 3, and then we kind of assign based on that who gets to work on what.
And then part of this is within your school curriculum. So are all the students working on projects? How many students are there in total?
Total students taking this course, I'd say every semester we usually have maybe 150 students that take this course. So you can imagine over the course of a normal school year, we have quite a lot of people that end up cycling through it.
Yes. Now, just because they're in this course, and that's great that Ottawa University believes in students using their skills for hands-on purposes to work on what we call Tetra-like or Tetra projects. But you actually have a Tetra Club. So how many members of the students in this design course are part of the Tetra Club?
So usually the design course kind of acts as the jumping off point for a lot of people in university. First time they're getting to work on a real project with a actual physical device that gets used by a real client. So for some people, it kind of sets the hook and gets them really into the idea and attracts a lot of people to the Tetra Club. Um, Very rarely do we have people who haven't taken this course join us in the club for any projects. So it's really our recruiting grounds per se.
Yes. But how many people are in the club currently? I mean, does the club include all 150 students that are taking the course?
Right. So our club is a bit of a fluid membership. It may not be like a more typical university club. So as far as I see it in my mind, we typically only consider students who are actually working on projects at the time as members of the club, just because really there's so many people that may join, do one project, and then move on to something else. So at any given point, we usually have between 5 to 12 people working on various projects. But in total, we've probably cycled through maybe 60 or 70 students.
Right. So the club it's like a Tetra project itself. You kind of, a beginning, middle, and an end, right?
Right.
So from what you've described, much like Tetra in a normal way, only on a university campus, students with disabilities will give their project requests. It's brought to the student group, and then a number of your classmates will choose to do it. And once they take on a Tetra project, then they can become a member of the Tetra Club. And then
That's right.
how are projects completed? Is it by using university equipment?
So often, yes, at the Faculty of Engineering, we have a variety of resources that allow our students to actually complete projects, whether it's 3D printers or laser cutters, or maybe having to go into our undergraduate student machine shop and use some, fancier, heavier duty tools. And we try as much as possible to use funding available within the university for our projects, just because that's something that other Tetra projects may not have access to. And we try and really keep it nice and tight within the university, showcasing what we have available.
Okay. And what kind of projects? Is it more electrical? Is it software based, mechanical? What would you say usually is like the solutions that created? What would you say is kind of is it what's the discipline that the solution's based out of as far as
So,
engineering?
so honestly, it partially depends on the project and partially depends upon the students that are working on the project. So some students like to work within their field. They might be interested in more mechanical based problems and will then choose a problem or project that is more in that field, whereas some prefer to mix fields. So a lot of our projects actually combine both mechanical and electrical components into one. Very rarely do we have purely software projects, just because a lot of the time they aren't really what a lot of people are looking for. But we've definitely had our fair share of software projects. So
And within the club, as you're working on these projects, do you also work with other Tetra volunteers of the Ottawa chapter? Will they join? Will they serve as a mentor? Do you have a student advisor? If you needed to bounce ideas off someone other than your own student members, how involved are the Ottawa chapter volunteers?
so far we haven't had a whole lot of contact, even though that's something that we definitely offer. We encourage our students to branch out and find people with potentially more experience. As you know, a lot of Tetra volunteers are current or retired engineers, so that's a great connection they can make. We also have a lot of connections within the faculty itself, so using faculty advisors that can help students on their projects, maybe provide advice on some of the more technical components that they may not be as familiar with, as well as more senior students that may have completed a few projects, right? So being able to act as project manager or provide some insight into what may work better.
Great. And just for those who are curious, maybe it's an engineering student themselves, and just as much as you can, or if you talked about other clubs at the university, how does one go about starting a club? What are some of the processes that would be involved?
So typically, I believe most universities usually have some form of formal registration with their student union or whatever other governing body takes care of student affairs. We decided to take a bit of a different route and decided to actually get sponsorship from the Faculty of Engineering to support our club, mainly because of the resources they had available and because it was just logistically easier than trying to get set up outside of the faculty. And the advantage of being a registered faculty club is we get a lot of support that the competition teams might normally get. So we actually get to be featured on the Faculty of Engineering's website. We get to liaison with a lot of faculty advisors, as I had mentioned earlier, and there's just a bit more support. That may not work for all universities. I know that some of the other clubs did just register as a more general club within their university, but I think it's different for everyone.
Yes, and of course, Ottawa has been doing this for quite a while. So it's been established, as you said, these students are encouraged to bring projects forward. You have the support of faculty. You're using university facilities to complete projects. So of the projects that you've been involved in, either directly or seen completed by the student group, are there any certain projects that stick out more than others?
Well, we've recently been getting into some more toy-based projects, for lack of a better word. So taking toys and items for younger children that may not necessarily be as suited to them and converting them to be a bit more accessible. And one of which that we love to talk about is a project that was completed last summer by a couple students for CHEO, Children's Hospital of Eastern Ontario, that's located here in Ottawa. And they took a couple of rideable toy cars that children can normally drive around, steering wheel, accelerator, pedal, and converted them to either be partially or fully remote control. So teachers and staff members and OTs can place the children inside them and drive them around if they're not capable of doing so themselves.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. I know that when I was younger, it's not as fancy as what you described, or I'm sure like the toy cars today. But when I was younger, Cooper, I had a battery operated car because, of course, I couldn't run or chase after my friends that way. So when I was in this, and it ran on this huge battery, and when I was riding around with my friends, they always had to help me get my foot off the gas pedal because I could get it on, but lifting it off. So when you talk about the switches, so I mean that's such a joy, and a big part of what Tetra does is helping people connect with friends or have that freedom. So and that's great. And are there any projects currently? So these toy projects, was that in the past? Because I know that started, I think, last year. Is that still going on?
No, that project was completed back in September or October, but we have maybe 3 or 4 volunteers working on some new projects for CHEO. So one of which is a sidewalk chalk holder for wheelchairs. So the idea is it holds a piece of sidewalk chalk in contact with the ground, and the child can move around and draw pictures on the ground just like the rest of their friends.
Well, now that is awesome. Again, I have nieces and nephews, and when they come to visit me, that's what we do. We buy the buckets of chalk, and everybody needs to draw and create. So I always hear about these reports of the great things being done by the student teams in Ottawa, but it's great to get to know you better and hear about what's going on. And you talked about the different roles within the club as well. Besides working on the projects, and I can see you're very passionate about it and an ambassador for Tetra and the Tetra Club. Do you currently have a title within the club yourself?
So I am considered the coordinator for the club. So I'm the one that will recruit students at our various club recruitment events that we have on campus, seek out new funding, find potentially new clients on campus and outside, and will act as the liaison until students really get connected with their clients.
Great. And for those who may be watching and see this, if somebody wanted to get involved with the student club, do they need to be a student of the university, or can you join the club and be going to school somewhere else?
That's a good question. So in order to access some of our resources and funding, you'd have to be a student at the University of Ottawa. However, if people would like to collaborate with us or would like guidance, they can definitely get in contact and we can figure something out.
So what is the best way to contact you? Because you're helping, you said you're the coordinator and helping with the outreach, or get involved with the club. Is it through a Facebook page, a website? How, if somebody's really inspired by this and wanted to know more, you said you have events. What's the way that they can contact the Ottawa University Student Club for Tetra?
So best way would probably just be through email. We have an email address with the University of Ottawa. It's tetra@uottawa.ca. You could also get in contact with the broader Ottawa-wide chapter, and they could refer to me.
Okay, well, that's perfect. And again, just in closing, and you've been involved with the club for how many years now?
Well, we started the club, I'd say maybe a year and a half ago, and I've been involved with Tetra for maybe another year before that.
Well, Cooper, thanks so much for sharing the time today and letting us know the ins and outs of the Ottawa University Club. Hopefully this inspires other students to either get involved with your club or contact Tetra and see what can be done about starting a club in their area. We've heard about some great projects. Again, projects for kids and other students on campus. So that's another reminder too, isn't it? Sometimes you're starting out at university, there's lots to take in, new city to adjust to, and if there's a student that could use a helping hand, the Ottawa Club is there as a resource.
Definitely, definitely. And thank you for having me.
Okay, well, it's been my pleasure, and stay tuned for Connect Together for more spotlights on great volunteers like Cooper and our other Tetra chapters. Thank you so much for joining us and for those who have tuned in.